People went to the movie theaters again, and people were crying in the movie theaters. This film awake the pride in culture, in cinema, and also I'm the daughter of my mother, so we are this entity. Brazil likes me. My childhood was pretty much like the house you see in I'm Still Here. I lived in a house very similar to that one, and my mother, she looked pretty much like Eunice Paiva. That was my childhood, playing in the streets. I love Rio de Janeiro. I mean, I'm a product of the culture. Rio, there is a lot of artists, musicians, so we were kind of raised in this environment. Life was like that. I mean, you have a dictatorship in a country. Susan Sontag, I think she went to Sarajevo when there was the war, and she said that every week there was a party in the main square. So even when the situation is unbearable, I think people find a way just to live. So happiness, life, theater, music, it was all around, together with a very dark, dark time. The 70s were my childhood, really. And then the 80s was when my generation came with great poets, great music. I started to live, I think, really in the 80s. I miss the 80s. I had my parents who were actors. I used to go a lot to the theaters, and our house, for instance, the dining table was the place where they rehearsed. We would come from the school and they would be there sitting and preparing for the new play. So that's how I grew up. And also later, when I was an adolescent, then I had the influence of my parents, but also everybody wanted to be actors because theater was very strong in Rio de Janeiro together with music. My mother, we talk a lot about theater and acting. We talk generally about life, theater. She talks a lot about theater. Eunice taught me a lot. I've never did a Greek tragedy, and I consider Eunice a Greek tragedy, someone who passes to something beyond human capability. And when it happens, what she does is she has to control herself because she has 5 children. So the anger, the desperation, it's a mother fighting for a family alone. It's so big and at the same time so controlled. That's something that I've never done before, I think, and it taught me a lot, and I think I'll take Eunice with me for a lot of things from now on because I understood something about acting with Eunice. I was in Lisbon and I didn't watch the television because I hate expectations, and my son and my husband, one of my sons, the oldest one, were in the house with my husband, and they came up to the room where I was and said, and I had this strange feeling because the Oscars for us in Brazil, for an actor, is something so far away. To imagine that a movie spoken in Portuguese, the nomination of my mother already was a kind of miracle. I never thought it would be possible. And then suddenly we were working this film, making people watch it. It was a heavy, heavy work. We could feel that there was a good feeling around the film, and was really a surprise. It's like living in a parallel life, that it's not really yours. And now it is mine, but it's funny. It was like, oh my God, how did it happen? I look for a good project. I don't make this difference between comedy and drama. You do whatever the project asks you to do. But of course I love comedy. My dream was to have done Young Frankenstein. That's the film I would die to do. The first film that I saw that my father took me to see was Peau d'Asne, Pele de Asno, is Donkey Skin with Catherine Deneuve. It's a fairy tale with Catherine Deneuve. I never forgot it. And later, 2001, another film that my father took me when I was a child. And later, when I had my children, that was the film that I first showed them, because you have the monkeys, you have the spaceship. Even if you don't get the whole thing, you get a lot of things. I have a long career in the internet or outside the internet. Some people don't like me, but I'm popular in Brazil. And also, I'm the daughter of my mother, so we are this entity, the Fernandas, in a way. We work together, we work separately, so Brazil likes me. Before I had like 500,000 followers. After the movie, it was like almost 5 million people. So it is the movie that it's doing this kind of commotion in Brazil. This film became, with the nomination, the possibility of a nomination, with Walter again directing a film in Brazil about such a beautiful story that nobody knew, that caused the commotion in Brazil. Because not me, the film, people went to the movie theaters again, and people were crying in the movie theaters and proud. So this film awake the pride in culture, in cinema.